It's Monday, September 2. In the headlines, schools are set to begin the new academic year this week. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, out of hospital. In business news, Jamaica will receive a disbursement of US $258 million from the International Monetary Fund. Regionally, Canada aids Barbados in rebuilding devastated fishing industry. And in sports, Jamaican footballer Leon Bailey could be out of Jamaica's upcoming Nations League match against Cuba. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. "902 of the island's 1,009 schools are expected to open their gates for the start of the 2024-2025 academic year on September 2. Noting that some schools are still not ready for classes in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, Portfolio Minister Fayval Williams says principals have been given permission to begin classes based on their situation.
We have also said to our principals that they have permission based on their context to determine how to bring students back to school. So traditionally, our high schools would have staggered children coming back into school, so not everybody is back on day one or even day two or day three. Primary schools, generally all students come back at the same time, but here again, we've said to principals in the priority one group that you have the agency to look at your context and determine how children come back to school.
According to Minister Williams, some schools will begin classes while repairs continue.
There are schools in the priority one in which we know, standing here today, that they will not be quite ready. All the classrooms will not be quite ready. And for those, we have contingency plans. So for example, we know that work at a particular school is going to extend for a week. We're making arrangements to have a tent. In other areas, other schools, we're using a church hall or a building that's close by just to give us that time to get the school completely ready. So we're asking all our stakeholders to work with us as we move through this situation in which we are.
The Education Minister says electricity is being restored to schools across the island, adding that progress is being made at those requiring electrical repairs.
They told me that JPS has done work, a lot of work on that list. And so we're not expecting for there to be many schools that are saying they don't have electricity. We didn't get that yesterday in the meeting that we had with principals for the priority one schools, but there could be others. I'm not saying everybody has electricity back, but I was assured that work was done to restore electricity.
After weeks of being admitted, Culture Minister Olivia Grange is out of the hospital. Parliamentary Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Abka Fitzhenley, says Minister Grange was released on Saturday. She reportedly contracted the flu virus and was hospitalized, with a portion of her admission being in the intensive care. She was subsequently released from intensive care but remained in hospital. The National Education Trust is making major progress in creating new building standards for Jamaica's education sector. That's according to Executive Director Latoya Harris-Garty. She discussed the advancement during a recent interview on Jamaica Information Service TV program Get the Facts. More details in this report.
According to NET's Executive Director Latoya Harris-Garty, the new standards have already been reviewed and approved.
We are very far advanced in the building standards, and the building standards covers early childhood to secondary level. We've reviewed the secondary level, we've approved it, and the final deliverable is set for this month.
Mrs. Garty shared that the updated standards will incorporate recommendations from Professor Orlando Patterson's Jamaica Education Transformation Commission report.
In those building standards, we've looked at green energy, green building technology.
Right.
We're looking at water harvesting. We're looking at solar. We've really taken recommendations from Orlando Patterson, and we've put those and incorporated those into the standards.
Director Garty also mentioned that NET, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and Youth, is working on an infrastructure policy and strategy.
We have the policy, we have the strategy that we're working on, and part of the strategy is for all our schools at some point over the next 5 to 10 years to have a refresh utilizing the building standards. So, Jamaica has new building codes,
right,
and all of those underpin the building standards that we have now. So we're rolling out new building standards.
She noted that newer schools built with these standards have proven more resilient to natural disasters such as Hurricane Beryl. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Denida Rodney.
Several persons in St. Elizabeth have received grants of up to $50,000 through the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's Rebuilding Jamaica initiative. The recipients' homes were damaged during the passage of Hurricane Beryl. As part of the initiative, emergency grants are being provided to homeowners based on the level of damage sustained. Homeowners whose properties suffered minor damage will receive grants of up to $50,000, while those with severe damage will receive up to $150,000. Homeowners whose homes were completely destroyed will receive grants of up to $400,000. Beneficiaries were presented with their checks by Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. during a ceremony held at the ministry's office in Santa Cruz last week. The passage of Hurricane Beryl on July 3 resulted in extensive damage to southern parishes, St. Elizabeth being the worst hit. The Jamaica Labour Party councillor Marjorie McLeod McFarlane of the Annan Town Division in Clarendon North is dead. McLeod McFarlane died at approximately 1 p.m. on Sunday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness expressed sadness at her passing in a statement on social media, saying, quote, "Our hearts are broken as we reflect with gratitude on her dedicated service, both to the party and to her constituents," end quote. The Prime Minister expressed heartfelt condolences to her loved ones, friends, and constituents. Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, your guide through the latest happenings in the world of business. GK General Insurance, a member of the Grace Kennedy Financial Group, has extended the deadline for its clients impacted by Hurricane Beryl to submit their property claims. The company noted that many Jamaicans are still facing challenges following the passage of Hurricane Beryl in July. The deadline for submission of all claim reports with supporting documentation has been moved to Tuesday, September 10, 2024. Jamaica will receive a disbursement of US $258 million from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, following its executive board's third review of the precautionary and liquidity line and the resilience and sustainability facility. The IMF Executive Board notes that Jamaica's response to recent shocks has strengthened the credibility of the monetary and fiscal policy frameworks. The response further acknowledged Jamaica's economic environment characterized by sustained growth, declining debt, low inflation, and a strengthened external position. Bilateral relations between Jamaica and the Dominican Republic through the respective embassies allowed the licensing of airplane carrier Arajet to offer direct flights between the two countries. Before the introduction of this flight, traveling from the Dominican Republic to Jamaica involved stopovers in the United States, Panama, or Turks and Caicos, which took 11 to 16 hours. The Arajet route direct between two countries reduces travel to just 1 hour. Arajet, the national carrier of the Dominican Republic, is reporting a massive uptick in passenger traffic along the Jamaica Dam-Rep route, which was non-existent up to 2020. As of June 2024, the number of Jamaican visitors to the Dam-Rep exceeded 58,000 persons. During trading for the period of August 30, 2024, the following companies represent the top 3 most active stocks that investors bought and sold on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Advertising agency, the Limners and Bards Limited, with 8,069,372 units, represented 15.38% of the market value in terms of sales. Beverage manufacturer and distributor Jamaican Teas Limited, with 7,246,509 units, represent 13.81% of the market value in terms of sales. Gas station and automotive parts distributor Regency Petroleum Company Limited, with 5,978,886 units, represented 11.40% of the market value in terms of sales. Moving from the money moves of investors, executives, and companies on the stock market, we turn to the Forex market. On August 30, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $69.63 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $61.34 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $157.04 and bought the US dollar for $158.03. The difference between the buy and sell rate was 99 cents, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of 87 cents from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $115.84 and bought for $142.97. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $2.50, selling it for $205.26 and buying it for $202.76. For our credit report tip of the day, the back-to-school season can really put a dent on your wallet, especially with the increasing cost of supplies, clothing, extracurricular activities. However, now is the perfect time to bounce back, rebuild your credit score, and prepare for your next financial milestone, whether it's buying a car, renovating your home, or qualifying for a mortgage. Let's look at an action that you can take to recover financially and set yourself up for the next big opportunity. So you're going to create a post back-to-school budget. So review your spending and adjust your budget to make room for a recovery. So you're going to identify areas where you can cut back temporarily and allocate more towards debt repayment or savings. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams. Appreciate your company. Stay well informed, stay ahead of the curve. Until our next update, take care.
In regional news, Canada's government and the private sector are stepping in to help revive Barbados' devastated fishing industry. Prime Minister Mia Mottley had held discussions early in July with Canadian officials and private sector representatives to secure aid for the Hurricane Beryl-hit industry.
The Canadian government and private sector will be playing a key role in getting Barbados' broken fishing industry sailing again. Prime Minister Mia Mottley made the announcement at the Christchurch South nomination meeting held at the St. Christopher Primary School. There, she gave the assurance that the government is working around the clock to render financial and other assistance to fisherfolk, while pulling out all the stops to repair the Bridgetown Harbour and other infrastructure.
I went in Canada and met with the ministers, 2 ministers of Prime Minister Trudeau's government, as well as the private sector in Nova Scotia in July, early July. And they arranged that they would work with us to be able to get us back on our feet. Because the reality is that there are only 2 moles in Barbados to build fishing boats, and the 2 moles, each boat can take 3 months, which can't work. So that we need to be able to work once again with our brothers and sisters in Dominica. They don't have the same moles that we do, but they have people who build boats. And therefore, if we can get more moles, they can help us. The people in Canada, they have different types of boats because, especially up that side, they do lobster and shrimp fishing, but we do different types of fishing. And I've learned that our boats have a different set of peculiarities that are unique to this country, but we also will work with them.
While 90% of the fishing boats damaged or destroyed by Hurricane Beryl were uninsured, Prime Minister Marty says government is keeping its promise to give boat owners a 25% grant for repairs and new purchases.
And we will also make it possible for persons to borrow long-term money. Because if you borrow something short-term, the repayment going to be so. If you get the repayment over a long period of time, the repayment going to come down here. And we have said that for those who, because of their age or other circumstances, may not be able to buy, the government will set up a special purpose vehicle and purchase boats and lease them, and the person can decide whether they want to do lease to own in 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, or whatever time it is.
She adds that coastal engineers have advised government it will cost an estimated 27 to 30 million Barbados dollars to repair the infrastructure at the harbour.
And when we repair, that harbour still will not be sufficiently strong or safe or capable of protecting the fishing industry in this country. It is Hobson's choice. If you don't do it, then the men have nowhere to carry their boats for safe harbour, because unlike the other islands in the region that have a lot of sheltered bays, Barbados got straight coastlines.
Prime Minister Marty says government is also looking closely at the issue of the fisherfolk contributing to the National Insurance Scheme. She says government has advanced $1 million to assist fisherfolk and families, while monies donated by other countries and organizations are being placed in a benevolent fund for the fishing community. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Trinidad and Tobago marked a milestone on August 31st, celebrating its 62nd Independence Day with spectacular military parades at the Queen's Park Savannah and across the streets of Port of Spain, delighting citizens with patriotic displays. Let's have a look.
From the first Independence Day, marked by more than a week of festivities from August 28 to September 5, 1962, the Independence Day Parade has been a staple. This year, more than 1,500 personnel from armed and unarmed branches executed precision drills in full dress uniform for the marching of the parade square at the Queen's Park Savannah and the subsequent route march throughout Port of Spain. Spectators dressed in their national colours filled the bleachers, while in the grandstand were Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, other members of Parliament and specially invited guests. President Christine Kangaloo presided over the parade. Today, history was also made with a female officer overseeing the presidential escort. Leading the troops of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Mounted Branch was Assistant Superintendent of Police Rene Bin Keller, mounted on a police horse named Hannibal. And all were treated to the various arms going through their paces, accompanied by combined bands. Citizens and visitors shared favourite moments from the parade and their wishes for Trinidad and Tobago.
Parade was on, and it's good to see everyone getting out, enjoying the covers, the music, and it's great. Been a great morning so far.
The best part of this evening when the bands was going up the road, that was amazing. They all was energetic, they all was holding vibes. Even though the sun is hot, they're still keeping it hot, and we like that.
So I started coming back from last year because it's something I always enjoyed, and yeah, I love it. It's good. Yeah. The highlight? Fire. Yeah, fire. I and just the whole everybody coming together as one. I wish that Trinidad and Tobago, we can come together not only for like independence, football and cricket and carnival. I wish we could just, if we bring this together, we would be a better place.
The best part of the parade for me was definitely the marching and the rhythm section. I really enjoyed that. And my wish for Trinidad is less crime, safer, and just for it to be safer.
But in terms for Trinidad, I think we need to come together and do a little better for the country, for the people, to tackle crime. We have so much potential everywhere with athletes, with everything, young people. We just need to do better as a country. We have it in us. We have it in us. Come on, let's go.
Stacia Yewood, TTT News.
From Antigua and Barbuda, veteran diplomat Sir Ronald Saunders is urging collective action to combat the rising violence, warning that crime, like a disease, can spread if left unchecked. Speaking exclusively to ABS News from Washington, D.C. this week, Sir Ronald emphasized the importance of monitoring deportees to the country. Garfield Burford has the story.
The problem with a virus is that it spreads. And crime is a virus. And it is demonstrated that it has the capacity to cross borders, just as the COVID-19 pandemic did. And once it has that capacity to cross borders, and it's not crossing borders, I mean by physical people, it's crossing borders by mentality.
So Ronald Saunders telling ABS News this week about the transnational nature of crime and how it is very much like a disease. The same point has been made by Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown, who says violent crime must be treated as a public health issue. So Ronald emphasizes the regional footprint of criminals and their syndicates.
It's like a multinational business with branches set out across the Caribbean.
He makes it clear the scourge of violent crime will take a concerted effort to address since the stakes are high.
These are all things at which the society as a whole has to become a part of. Because if they are not, we may very well end up like Haiti, in which you have a country controlled by gangs who rape women, rape children, kill their victims, even barbecue them and then boast about it. And people live in a state of terror. That is not a way for any one of us to live. It's not what we want. But let me tell you, if we get there, we can kiss the things that make our country economically sound goodbye, because tourism will come to an end. And we have to understand, therefore, that each of us has a vested interest in this matter. And we have to join the government regardless of where in society we may stand.
The veteran diplomat points to the multifaceted nature of the crime problem, with law enforcement and border protection agencies having a role to play in monitoring people deported to the country's shores.
When my embassy, for instance, sends back deportees from the United States to Antigua, which we have to do, we are bound to do it legally, we have no choice. We present the entire criminal background of these people to the police and to immigration. The question is, what happens with that information? Do the police continue to keep these people under surveillance, or they're just out into society doing what they want? That's one of the things that we have to start looking at as a fundamental problem of the infestation, the infection of this disease that is happening in our societies.
He told us while governments in the region are tackling their national crime challenges, there must be a renewed commitment to an effective regional response. What is needed, he says, is a kind of FBI of the Caribbean.
In sports, we kick off today's report with news from football. Jamaican footballer Leon Bailey could be an injury doubt for Jamaica's upcoming Nations League games after suffering a hamstring injury during Aston Villa's 2-1 win over Leicester City in the English Premier League on Saturday. Bailey was last week recalled to the Reggae Boys squad by new head coach Steve McLaren for their upcoming CONCACAF Nations League fixtures against Cuba and Honduras. The Reggae Boys will face Cuba on Friday before traveling to play Honduras 4 days later. Over to cricket. The 2024 CPL campaign of the Trinbago Knight Riders got off to a flying start with a resounding victory over St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at Warner Park on Saturday evening.
It was Game 3 of CPL 2024, with multi-time champions Trinbago Knight Riders making their first appearance in the tournament, while their opponents were aiming to make it 2 wins from 2 matches. The home team won the toss and elected the field, but the visitors got off to a flyer, with Sunderland Ryan leading the way with a quick-fire 38 in 19 balls, which featured 3 4s and 4 6s, before he departed in the 4th over with a score on 44. TKR lost Jason Roy in the next over, but then Nicholas Puran took over, and he featured in 2 good partnerships, but it was the 122-run compilation in 59 balls with Casey Carty which lit up Warner Park. Puran falling in the 18th over just short of a century for 97, with a staggering 9 6s and 7 4s. Carty remained not out at the end of the 20 overs with 73 in 35 balls, featuring 9 4s and 3 6s. The Knight Riders closing on 250 for 4. Anrich Norgé had 2 wickets for 37 runs in 4 overs for St. Kitts Nevis. In reply, the Patriots lost 2 early wickets, but got good scores from Michael Louis with 56, as well as Evan Lewis and Tristan Stubbs, both with 39, which gave them some hope. The TKR bowlers must also be credited for keeping them reined in, with Narayan having the best figures of 2 for 24 in 4 overs. The St. Kitts Nevis Patriots reaching 206 for 8 at the end of 20 overs, as the Trinbago Knight Riders won by 44 runs to go atop the table on net run rate. TKR will be next in action on Thursday at North Sound in Antigua versus the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons. Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.
Iconic cricketer Dwayne Bravo has announced his retirement from the Caribbean Premier League and will be playing his final season this year.
A release from Trinbago Knight Riders media stated that the Sir Champion will be riding off into the sunset on the back of being the highest wicket taker ever in the CPL, winning 3 championships as a skipper and 5 in total. After what has been an incredible career, Bravo will be having the last dance this season and will be eyeing to deliver match-winning performances to take his side to their 5th CPL trophy. With 103 matches to date, 11,055 runs and 128 wickets, Bravo's numbers at the CPL have been second to none, and he can still add to the tally this season. The release further stated that it will truly be a ride to remember this season for one of Trinbago's favorite sons, and one fan and of the fans will be looking forward to immensely.
That's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.